Hey, I'm Lisa Wagner, and welcome to my little corner of Breakout, the Mind, Body, Spirit event that is being held by Dark Goddess Collective. Thank you so much to Dark Goddess Collective for having me. And I am so excited to be with you all here today. I love spring. I love Ostara. I love the spring equinox. I'm a Pisces, so it's my birthday season. I love being a pagan because for this time of the year, you get a reset. And that's what I'll be talking about today. My discussion will be on following your magic to deeper passions. So a little bit about me. I'm Lisa Wagner, as I mentioned, and I'm the author of a book called Positive Pagan, Staying Upbeat in an Offbeat World. And this book is a culmination of dreams I had for literally decades. So we will talk a little bit about that. A little bit of housekeeping before we begin. So I want you to take a deep breath with me. We're going to take 3 deep breaths, and then we're going to light a candle. And we're going to set intentions for this workshop, which is what I always love to do. I like setting the space and setting intentions because that sort of helps you be present and lets the magic just flow. So if you wouldn't mind, just take a deep couple of breaths with me on the count of 4, 4 in, 4 hold, and 4 out. So let's begin. Breath in. Breath 2. And breath 3. So I hope you're sitting in a very comfy spot so that you're able to watch this comfortably. If you'd like to take notes, please make sure you have your notebook and pen available. I will have a PDF available that you can download after you listen to this. So don't worry if you miss something. I will cover most of the parts of the PDF. So to set the intention for our workshop, I'll begin by lighting a candle. This one, strangely enough, I picked it up and it's called Spring Haze, so how appropriate. But nothing is coincidence, right? So Spring Haze is jasmine, plumeria, orange, and lime. So we're going to begin by lighting our candle. If you want to light a candle with me as well, that would be great. And the thing about lighting a candle and setting the intention for the workshop is so that we're grounded and present and we can pay attention, because I don't know about you, but I am a huge multitasker and I can do 5 things at once. And I really want this workshop to be something that sort of flows from me to you and reciprocates. So hopefully by the time you watch this, you'll have some energy to send to me. I will have my contact information as well in the PDF. So if you have any questions whatsoever, or if you want to follow up by buying my book or attending any future workshops that I do, you'll have the information ready and available. So I've lit the candle and I'm going to set the intention. The information will flow easily from me to you, the wonderful viewer, and that we take advantage of this present moment, this beautiful springtime. And whether it is spring-like in your area, or if you're facing cold, such as I am doing presently, know that spring is coming and the earth is awakening and things will be unfurling. And now is such a beautiful time to hit a reset button and to begin to make your passions and your dreams come true. And so let's begin. All right, so welcome. Like I said, my name's Lisa Wagner, and the book I've written, Positive Pagan, was a journey. So I thought I would start this workshop by telling you a story of how I got to publish that book. If you want to fast forward through this, you can, but I do feel like storytelling is a great part of learning so that you can understand where I am coming from, because obviously I'm a stranger to you, and I will tell you a little bit of my story and how magic wove itself through it. And then we will follow that up. I will have a guide to setting intentions and following your magic to your deeper passion so that you too can create your dreams come true. So to begin, I have always loved writing ever since I was little, and I learned to read and to write. I started school actually in the 1st grade, not knowing anything, basically. And I caught up pretty quickly because I remember distinctly feeling in love with words. I love words. I love writing. I love reading. And so from a very young age, I loved writing. That's all there was to it. I would write in journals. I would write poetry. I loved to write stories for English class. And needless to say, English was my favorite subject in school. So all through high school, same thing, just loved writing, thought I would be a journalist, do all these different things. And then life intervened. And so I put the dream of writing a book on hold. I knew I always had it in me. And through the years, as I started my family and got my degree and found my way through the world of work, basically, I had that dream and I set it aside, but it was always there. It was like a kernel that was within me. And I knew I had that idea that one day I would do so. And this actually is a generational dream because my mother had dreams of writing a book as well. So she never got to do that. But so I'm pleased to follow her legacy and offer that as part of my generational gift to my ancestors, of which obviously my mother is one. So fast forward a little bit, a couple of decades, I have turned 50 years old and it's half a century. And oh my goodness, all through that time, from high school till that moment, I had that dream of I'm going to write a book. I have a book in me. And I remember saying that to myself very often. I have a book in me. It's just waiting to get out. So in a way, I planted that seed a very long time ago. And the seed just kept germinating and germinating. And I never really had the time or the energy. I would start something and would stop it. I would take writing classes, but that dream was always there. And so here I found myself in a new decade, and I decided that I needed to change my life up. So I did. I completely changed my life. I moved to a different area. I now live in the beautiful mountains of Western North Carolina. I was living sort of just in a moderate sized city, beautiful as well, but it just didn't call to me the way the mountains did. And so I moved. I changed jobs. I was in the corporate world for decades. It paid the bills. That's what I needed it to do. But I wanted to have a life that had more magic in it. And so I started intentionally setting seeds. And so the next part of this story is a little bit spooky. I found myself looking for a place in Asheville, North Carolina, which is where I live. And I got lost and disoriented, and I couldn't find an apartment to save my life. And so I got frustrated. And I knew there was this place called Riverside Cemetery in Asheville, because I've been here a couple of times that I always visited growing up, and I knew about the area, even though I didn't really know anybody here personally. I went to the cemetery and I found myself in front of the grave of a writer called Thomas Wolfe. And a lot of people don't know him nowadays, but he was very, very popular in the 30s. And he wrote a lot of books, and he was sort of a kindred spirit, I felt, because he enjoyed traveling very much, and he died very young. And he liked to write. I mean, he wrote prolifically, and to this day, I cannot get through one of his books, but I cherish the words that he wrote and the passion that he had to create so many words in these beautiful books that he has written. So I found myself in front of his grave. And for some reason to this day, I still don't know what happened. I just sort of plopped in front of his grave and I just started crying. And I was like, I can't find an apartment. I don't know what to do. Why am I doing this? I am moving to this place. So I had sort of a crisis of faith there. I was losing track of my dreams and my intentions. And I said, you know what? And I still don't know what possessed me to say this. If you help me find an apartment, Tom, I will write a book. I promise you. I keep saying I'm a writer. I'm really going to do it this time. And I'm going to write a book and I'm going to bring it back to you. So long story short, that's exactly what happened. Actually, the very next place I looked at was the apartment I ended up living in for the next couple of years. And it was such a lovely place. Could not have picked a better place to begin my life here in Western North Carolina. And all kinds of magical things unfolded. And so the next thing that came up, I attended a conference. And I met someone who was in charge of a bunch of bloggers, magical bloggers. I think he had seen something I'd written somewhere, some sort of article I'd written or something like that, and said, hey, have you ever thought about blogging? Well, that was a long held dream of mine, but blogging didn't seem as popular anymore. So I was like, I have no idea how to do this. No worries, I will show you. And so I began a blog called Witch Indeed. And it was all about my adventures in Asheville and things I had encountered, how I celebrate magic, turns on the wheel of the year, and things like that. And so from there came the opportunity to meet an editor at Llewellyn Publications. Now, since I was a child, I have loved Llewellyn books, and it was part of my dream. At this point, I would have been happy to be published anywhere, but circumstances were such that I met the editor and I said, I've written this blog called, I think, what was the name of it? Positivity. It was about positivity during dark times. I'm sorry, I can't remember the title right now, but it was about positivity during dark times. And I had such a response to that blog. And it was a dark time in our history, of which we've had so much recently in the last couple of years. And I was just writing about tapping into the power of positivity to keep going through the darkness, through the dark times. And it really resonated with a lot of people. And I had such a huge response that when I met the editor, I said, hey, I had this blog. It's an idea I have. I think there are a lot of people that would like to have a book like this because I didn't see anything else out there like it. And so back and forth, with a proposal, and it got accepted. And so I wrote the book that you see today called Positive Pagans, Staying Upbeat in an Offbeat World. So throughout that journey, it got published last year in June. And it is a dream come true. It is a compilation of all the bits and pieces of ways of magic that I've used through some really dark times personally and worldwide, and that kept me going. And I know it's helped a lot of people. And I originally started it out as a dream. This is my dream. I want to write a book. My mom always wanted to write a book. Let me fulfill this dream for both of us and get this book published. And then somehow in the middle of it, the dream changed into, I really want to help people with this, because I had so many people coming to me, and I work with a lot of clients that are getting stuck in their magic, or they're having a hard time in their life, and they need something to help them push through and to continue. And I'm a firm believer in action, moving you through to what you need to be doing for your next steps, to making your dreams come true or your intentions coming through. So that's what I do now. So in addition to being a writer, I also co-host a podcast called Mystic Tea. So have a listen. We're on Spotify and Apple. And I continue to write my blog at Patheos called Witch Indeed. So you could look that up. And I also write for a company called Enchanted Botanicals. And I write about all natural ways to celebrate the wheel of the year. So needless to say, a lot of my dreams, intentions have come true. And I have deepened my passion since that little kernel began when I had my birthday, and I was like, I need to change up my life. This is not the way I want to continue to live. And so what follows is I want to help you find your way to set intentions. And especially at this time of year, it's such a great time to do that. And like I said, that's what I love about being a pagan, because you have reset buttons all through the year. And, if it doesn't work, please don't be hard on yourself. Shake yourself off and start it again. So like I said, I will have this great PDF that you will receive, that you can download, and I will cover all the different areas of how to follow your magic, to deepen your passions, and to make them happen. So the first one is, basically, it's to clear out your space. Now, I did it pretty radically because I moved spaces. I literally moved from one area to another. But for yourself, it doesn't have to be quite so radical. If you're ready for it, great, please do so. But for beginning purposes, if all it is a shelf on your bookcase or your nightstand, set a space and make it magical. And so it can be your altar, it can be a space where you want to set intentions, and just clear off that space. From there, clear out your life and make your life more open to receiving the magic. I myself had blocked off so many things because I thought I was resigned to working in the corporate world forever and a day, and that there was no possibility I could ever live anywhere else or do anything else. And I planted a seed, and you will feel that planting of the seed deep within you. So you will plant that seed and you will make it happen. So you plant your seed by first having this magical space. And in that space, you put whatever it is that speaks to you as far as setting your intentions. So for a long time, I had a pen. It's something as simple as that, a pen and a candle. It can be as simple as that. You can use items from nature. You can use statues. You can use, like, you can make a little mini vision board. I'm a big believer in vision boards because the visual, once you see it repetitively, it sinks deep into your psyche and it helps your magic happen. So you can create a little vision board. And also, make sure it's a space where you can spend time at to be still and listen. Because I find that a lot of blockages to magic is that we're not sitting still. We're not listening. We're busy falling off all these rabbit holes, and we're not listening to our deities, to nature, our spirituality. We're not listening to the message of, this is what you need to do next. This is what you should focus on. So for example, I wanted to be a writer. Well, okay. What does it take to be a writer? You need to write. And up until that point, I had not really written. So to use that as an example, I started looking for ways to get my writing out into the world. And so whatever it is, whether it's a relationship, a new job, a new career, being a writer, being an artist, having your own business, it all starts with, very simply, having a space where you can spend time and listen. And then make sure you clear your space, because a lot of times people sort of clutter up the area where you want to do your magic in. And I get it. You love crystals or you love statues and things like that. That's no problem. Keep that wherever else you have in your home, but always clear off items that you have. I'm a big believer in Florida water. You can find this online. Usually your metaphysical shop will have it. You can buy your local Florida water. It's basically just water, has a really nice, pleasant scent to it. A lot of magical practitioners use it, and it really does. It clears the energy of a space. It clears energy off items. So for example, if you're finding a lot of your items through thrifting, make sure you clear it off, like either with Florida water, or you can use incense or loose incense. Here's some that I have, and make sure that you clear off your area with that. Hold on one second. I want to check the time. Okay, we're still good. Okay, so you have cleared off your space, you have cleared off your items, you set your intention. Try to be consistent. If you can't make it every day, at least every other day, at least 3 times a week, spend some time at this space. You can call it your altar, you can call it your magical intention setting space, whatever you want to do, make sure you set it there. And it is important to have a spiritual practice of some sort. So whatever you believe in, this isn't about my way or the highway, but whatever your spiritual practice is, make sure you spend time with it. So for example, I consider myself a Celtic pagan witch. So I follow a Celtic spirituality, and I am devoted to Bridget, and I am a minister and priestess in her name. And so Bridget came to me. Actually, I asked for help. I literally, it was at Imbolc. I literally was in front of my altar and was like, Bridget, for some reason, she called to me, and I was like, I don't know what's happening, but I don't like the way things are going, and I want to change my life. Could you please help me? And I was very open and honest and vulnerable with my intentions. I lit a candle, I made offerings, and she has, ever since that day, she has guided my life in the most beautiful, wondrous ways, because I had stilled my mind. And I wasn't listening to the voices anymore of like, you can't do this, or you can't do that, or you're stuck. I was still, and I listened. And she said, start writing. And I started very simply. I started writing poetry and started writing in my journal more regularly. And it got me into the habit of writing more regularly. So always be able to do that. You have to be consistent. I have a lot of people that I work with that they'll set their spell or their intention and then just get frustrated. It's been a week. It's a week. It hasn't happened yet. It may take years. So if you modify your expectations and realize it does take time. Like all my dreams did not happen overnight, but it was a constant, like how you have a plant and say plant a seed, you have to tend to the plant. And sometimes some of these plants, they take years to, especially like fruit trees or fruit bushes, it takes years for them to bear fruit. And so too is our life and our magic. So you have to have faith. that it will happen. And I know there's hard days and there's days where you beat yourself up and you don't think this will ever happen, but somehow deep within you, find a kernel and hold on to that kernel. I mentioned this in my book. I noticed that a lot of people who are survivors of traumatic events, tough lives, and let's face it, as humans, I don't think anyone ever escapes life unscathed. But if you've had a hard life, I find those people are the most open and positive because they have found that kernel within them. So I don't know if you know Gloria Vanderbilt, Anderson Cooper's mom. She had quite the interesting life, quite a few challenges, a lot of death, a lot of really terrible things that have happened to her. And she described it as a diamond within her. She had this diamond and she knew that she would be okay. And to me, I call it an ember. So for me, it's always like a little coal burning, like I will hold on to it gently because it's an ember. But I know that it will keep me going. So try to find that within yourself, and whatever you visualize, whether it is a seed, an ember, a diamond, it could be, I don't know, petrified wood, something deep, deep within you, a beautiful piece of amethyst. Find that to hold on to within yourself, because that's what's going to keep you going through distractions or other things happening or things that you feel like it might get in the way of following your passion. Another big important thing is to honor your deity, your spirituality regularly. So for Bridget, I leave offerings on a regular basis. It can be whatever you feel called it could be, or the deity will tell you. There is no right or wrong. You just make offerings. And whether it is part of your meal, whether it's a little shot glass full of alcohol, water, wine, your favorite perfume, make sure you honor your deities, as well honor your ancestors. So if you don't have an ancestor altar up year round, that's fine. Sometimes people only do it at Samhain, but if you honor your ancestors, I honor mine. I found like a little bottle of this Austrian liqueur because my mom's side of the family comes from Austria and Germany, and I have that on my ancestor altar. It's just a way to say, hey, I'm connected to you. I'm connected to all the love that came before me, to the people that came before me and their dreams. And it's just a tangible memento that keeps me connected to that energy. Another way to follow through with your magic is to align yourself with some form of energy. So that could be nature, it could be following the moon, or it could be Gaia, it could be a deity, it could be the wheel of the year, it could be the land that you're on. So that will only take place when you're grounded and centered. And if you don't know how to ground, just very simply put your feet flat on the ground and feel yourself connected to the earth, and then feel like there's something going through you that grounds you and centers you. And you'll notice the difference because you're not going to be scattered and thinking 5 bajillion thoughts. You're going to be focused and calm. And from there, things will flow. So for example, I follow the new moon and the full moon. So the new moon is a great time for setting intentions. And it happens once a month. So you get to set your intention, and you also can really make progress. Like, so say, for example, you have a big overarching piece of magic that you want to happen. You could do piece by piece over the course of a year with the new moon as far as setting intentions. Full moon, very simply put, is letting go of what no longer serves you. So for example, you can have a cauldron. I love my little cauldron, and just burn. You can write down words of things that you no longer want to have in your life, whether it be impatience, whether it be clutter, whether it be certain relationships that you feel are holding you back. Just write them down on a piece of paper and burn them at the full moon and let them go. The wheel of the year is amazing to really deepen your relationship to the planet that we're on, because it's an agricultural calendar. So regardless of your spiritual beliefs, Ostara is coming up. Whether you celebrate spring or Easter, Passover, any of those things, find a way to tap into it so that you ground yourself into the earth, and it will help with the magic to flow. So there are many YouTube videos and books and things on the subject, or you can email me at positivepagan@gmail.com if you would like more information about that as well, if I'm not being clear. I'm assuming a lot of you practice magic already. So not really sure. I want to make sure that I can reach all people at all different levels. So you use that energy to propel your intentions. I also use the energy of positivity. Now, there's a huge difference between toxic positivity and just positivity. And the simplest example I have of that is, so for example, to me, toxic positivity, which I get, a lot of people flinch at the word positive. Toxic positivity is, for example, an unfinished thought. That's what I always think. Like when I see that, just smile. Well, okay, why? My immediate reaction is like, why are you asking me to smile? Just randomly. So one that's really commonly used is make your bed. So for years, I never made my bed because what's the point? You're going to end up back in your bed at the end of the day, right? So one day, all of a sudden, and trust me, I'm not the first person to come up with this idea. I realized, oh, wait a minute, if I make my bed, I change the energy in my bedroom. So every day now I make my bed, and it has helped. It does give you a boost because you've also achieved something. You've done something. You've checked one item off the list. It helps you feel more confident and it propels you to the next step. So that is the difference. You're taking the energy of positivity and you're moving yourself forward. The way I always like to explain that is, I can get from point A to point B, and I find a lot of people can do that. It's just getting me to point A. Point A can take me months, if not years, to get to point A because I don't want to do this, or I'm overwhelmed, or life is too horrible right now. And that's fine. Give yourself that space. But to get to point A, you need some sort of energy to propel you forward. So like I said, you can honor a deity. You can follow the wheel of the year. Let this time of year, like the name of this wonderful market says, break out of your cycles and try something different and feel the energy from that and let it propel you forward. So let's see, what's next on my list? Don't focus on the big picture. I know that sounds contradictory, but a lot of times when you look at the big picture, it can be overwhelming because, oh my gosh, there's so many things to do. Try not to do that too often. The big picture with it is like a frame, and you just look at the frame once in a while, but really be present and grounded daily in your life. And then that will help you figure out how to move forward with setting your intentions, because the overwhelm will stop you in your tracks. And I know that feeling. I know what it feels like to not want to get out of bed. I also have seasonal affective disorder. So I have whole swaths of months that I use these guidelines in order to get me out of bed and to get some things done. And some days I can only do one thing, but I don't give myself a hard time about that because I do what I can. So the other part of setting your intention is to keep your blinders on. I cannot stress this strongly enough. And I know in this age of social media, it's a tricky line. You can find people that inspire you. And so say, for example, you follow them on social media, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, or whatever. Use that to inspire you, not to overwhelm you. If you're constantly following people that you just feel like, oh gosh, I'll never be as pretty as this person, or I'll never be as good as that person, or they seem so successful, I'm never going to do that. That's not what you want to do. You want to be inspired by them. So, oh my gosh, this person did XYZ. They did it. Maybe I can do it too. And use that energy to move through the stagnancy that might be happening. When I say keep your blinders on, is mostly don't let outside voices drown out what you want to do, your purpose, your intentions, your magic. Don't let that drown that out. You have to keep the blinders on and know, and you will know. There is a difference between knowing something that's deep within your heart, or something that's just sort of a fly by night. Oh yeah, I want that, kind of thing. There is a huge difference. I'm talking about the big things that you want in your life. You sort of have to keep your blinders on and keep it moving forward. And be very careful about who you do follow, because really observe them, how they react to adversity. If everything's always sunshine and roses, that's not human. That is social media. And you don't necessarily want to follow someone because maybe that person's in denial, or they're covering up a life that's not quite so great. So just make sure you thoroughly vet the people that inspire you and that you follow. And, if you find out that they're not who they seem they are, that's fine. Just let them go. And then maybe you'll find someone else to inspire you. I personally have always been inspired by other writers. There are certain people out in the media world that I also find inspiring. I find human interest stories, simple things, also inspire me. People that have overcome incredible obstacles to get what they wanted. So, for example, the Invictus Games, huge admiration for the athletes. They have, been soldiers, fought, lost a limb, and suffer through a lot of that mental anguish, and yet they compete, and that is their purpose in life. And they all come together and they have these amazing events and sports that keep them going. So that also gives you perspective, because we're not in that situation, so surely we can make the next step moving forward into our dreams. And let's see, be open to possibility. That's the one that usually bogs people down. And I want you to be very careful about negative self-talk. So if you're busy talking yourself out of everything, your magic will not happen. It's pretty simple. If you're always saying, oh, good things never happen for me, well, guess what? They won't, because you're putting that out into the world, and your words are energy. So there's a very simple phrase, and this is something I read like a long time ago: things are working out for me. And it sounds sort of hokey and kooky, but sometimes it's a boost I need. And if things are working out for me, just think about that. If you're feeling in a positive mindset, then positive energy will come your way and help things to happen. Because let's face it, if you're feeling down and blue and sitting on the couch watching TV and eating lots of snack foods, things won't happen. And that's not a judgment. We all do that, right? But nothing's going to happen when you're in that mode. So that's okay. Set a boundary on that and be like, okay, tomorrow I will try to do XYZ on my intention. I will spend time at my altar. I, will stay hydrated. I will light a candle. I will, ground deeply with the moon that's coming up. If you do those things, that will help propel you forward. So definitely try to do that and be open to possibility. A lot of times, I think as humans, we try to control things. You can't control things. You can only control certain things. So be open to possibility. So for example, I like to use like relationships. So I have friends that, want to find a romantic partner. Well, if you have in your head the specific guideline of a person, while that's good to have a guideline, don't rule out people because they don't fit that mold, because that person maybe knows somebody, or that person can change your mind about what your mindset was about. You don't know. So just be open to possibility. If it doesn't work, that's fine. Close that door and keep it moving. But being open to possibility is the most magical thing you can do, because you can talk yourself out of things, and you can talk yourself out of magical things happening. If you're always in that mindset of just like, bad things are always happening to me, or this person isn't right for me, all I meet are terrible people, I can't get anything done, my life will never change. Well, yeah, it won't. You need to be able to focus and ground. And these are all very simple things that you can do to add to your life, starting immediately, that don't take up a whole lot of time. And always, like I said, give yourself some credit, talk to yourself really nicely, like you're your best friend, because that really does help. If you're talking negatively to yourself, it doesn't do anybody any good, least of all yourself. So just keep that in mind. And if all else fails, I'm very proud of you. So just keep that in mind as well, and watch this part of the video over and over, because you made a choice to spend time with me and listening to this workshop. So kudos. Thank you for doing that. And I hope you learn from this workshop as well as the other workshops from the Mind, Body, Spirit market, because it's out in the world to help people. And I'm really honored to be part of it. So remember that. And let's see. My other favorite: have zero expectations. A lot of times I find as humans, we go into things, and I do this too, we have all these expectations, like it's going to go this way, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. Every time I've done that, I am surprised because, sometimes it doesn't happen that way. Have zero expectations because you can only go up from there. You really can. If you go into an experience, like say you're going out to dinner with friends and they're bringing like a new person along. If you sit there and go, I don't know this new person. I don't want to be with this new person. Why did they bring that person along if I don't know them? Well, if you're at dinner, you never know. You might find out you have so much in common with this new person. That's a very simplistic example, but that also applies to magic. So, find the magic that resonates with you and then have zero expectations, but be open to possibility in life. I promise you, things will move forward and you will have your dreams come true. And let's see. Last one. If it doesn't work, please don't beat yourself up. Figure out if you're being redirected into something else. So for a long time, I thought, I need to have this certain job in order to have XYZ. Well, yeah, I was miserable in those certain jobs. And it wasn't working for me. So I had to stop, redirect my energies, and get a different position where I felt more open and more able to create and more able to do things. And it's okay if that happens. We have a life. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be living it. So just stop, give yourself a pat on the back for how far you got with it, and just say, you know what, that's not working for me. And also realize if you're being redirected into something else, because that might be something wonderful and you just never know. So I hope all these tips have been useful for you. Like I said, we have a PDF that you can download. Feel free to email me at positivepagan@gmail.com if you have any questions whatsoever. I do work with clients with people that are stuck with their manifestation or their spell work. I also do readings and I do Reiki as well. So if any of those things appeal to you, you can find me at lisawagoner.com. If you are interested in my book, you should be able to find it. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or, ask your local independent bookstore to order it for you because they may not be aware of it. It's been out about 6 months. So I hope you enjoy it. Please feel free to let me know the parts that resonated with you. Like I said, this book is a culmination of all the bits and bobs I've learned throughout my life of very challenging circumstances that got me through some really dark times. So I hope if you do get a copy, it helps you. And I want to again thank Dark Goddess Collective for having me. I am so truly honored to be part of this wonderful spring market. I hope all of you have a beautiful Ostara. I hope you use the magic and the wonderment of this time to plant some seeds. And I can't wait to see what happens to you. And let me know. Like I said, if you have any challenges or anything, send me an email. You can also find me on Facebook at Lisa Wagner Asheville. And you can also find me on Instagram at Positive Pagan. So I look forward to hopefully meeting or seeing some of you out there in the world. Or like I said, feel free to contact me and have a wonderful Ostara. Make your magic happen. Find whatever it is deep inside of you and break out into making your passions and your magic really elevate and happen. Take care. Thanks for spending time with me.